Hey, what's up everyone? It's Duncan from 4xtouring.com, and today's video I wanted to talk about whether you really need diff-locks in modern day four-wheel drives. Welcome back everyone. If you're new to my channel, please hit the subscription button and the notification bell, because my channel is all about sharing my experiences and knowledge in overlanding with the rest of the community, and I try and bring out a video every single week. So today's video, diff-locks, are they really necessary for modern day four-wheel drives? Now, before I go any further, I did mention it in a few of my previous videos. I moved to the country. Johnny and I moved to the country, not I alone. And we live in an area called Adelaide Hills now. And it's beautiful country, very peaceful. And it's rolling hills. And to give you an idea, take a look right behind me. This is literally no more than 3 minutes from where I live, and it's super peaceful. Loving it so far, though I'm not too fond of the winter weather, because it's really, really cold. I think we are about 4 degrees less than what it is in the city. So I'm thinking the summers would be brilliant. And a lot of off-road tracks, which I'm yet to go and explore now that I've got Dicerus back. So I thought I'll do this talking video while I'm walking in some of our favorite parts of the Adelaide Hills, and take you with me, and hopefully you'll enjoy the scenery as much as I do. Anyway, so since my previous video where I talked about, Dicerus coming back from the shop with 2 diff-locks installed, and I talked through that, and if you missed it, please go take a look. And I describe how a diff-lock works and what's the whole purpose of it and how the power distribution happens and so on. And from there's a number of discussions that took place off the channel between me and friends, and even on the channel itself. And the question was whether modern day four-wheel drives with all these electronic traction aids, as terrain select and so on, whether they really need diff-locks. And straight off the bat, in my opinion, I'll say no, which I'll explain in a minute why I say no. But if you're a far more technical person than I am, then please go ahead. And if you disagree, please leave them in the comments below. And even if you do agree, maybe you've got something to add to what I'm about to say. Well, in old school four-wheel drives like Dicerus, there's hardly any electronics, there's no onboard computers, nothing like that. And it's diff-locks will help in terms of getting the traction when you're in really tricky situations. So in very quick brief, when you switch on the diff-lock, what it all happens is that one wheel perhaps has got no traction and the other wheel perhaps has a little bit of traction. You hit the diff-lock on and it'll distribute power evenly between the 2 wheels, and therefore both wheels will spin without the easier one, that easier to turn, getting power and just spinning away and then digging yourself in deeper. And then that way you're able to get a bit of traction and get yourself out of that, keep that momentum going. Now, compared to the modern day systems, I feel that is a bit inefficient, because the diff-lock basically sends equal amount of power to both wheels. So even the wheel that has absolutely no traction will just spin away, but because the second one, which has a little bit of traction, is also getting that same amount of power, it sort of pulls the vehicle out of that tricky situation. Whereas with modern day terrain select traction aids, it's far more calculated, far more sophisticated. And what it basically does is it, through various sensors and very clever gadgets which are installed into the vehicle and its wheels and so on, it's constantly its onboard computers are constantly processing the data that's sent to it, and it figures out which wheel has how much of traction, which one has no traction, and then it delivers just enough power to the wheel that that has the traction. So if one wheel, for example, has absolutely no traction and the other it has at least a tiny little bit, and it will stop sending power altogether to the wheel that doesn't have traction, unlike as in a diff-lock situation, and then it will give just about enough power to the wheel that does have traction and help it get along. And we'll keep doing this, and we'll keep measuring and keep processing all that data that's been sent from every single wheel continuously. And as one wheel gets traction, it'll get the amount of power that it's required without having to dig itself in. And then once it senses, okay, maybe perhaps a wheel in the front has now got enough traction, okay, give it that a little bit of power. And you get what I'm trying to say here. So it's a very smart and efficient system, and it works like magic, in my opinion. I've been in a few modern day, when I say modern day, in my opinion, it's like post 2015, I would say. The traction control system started well before 2015, but I felt that from 2015 onwards, there's been tremendous improvements by many manufacturers. And I've been in a few. I've been in a 200 series. I've been in actually one of the more newly released Land Rover Defender as well. And the traction controls have been super impressive, and I have to admit, it's been brilliant. Electronic aids does take away the driver input, because you just flick a switch and then thereafter it pretty much takes care of it. Whereas in old school, and if you're like I don't want to use this word as a purist, but if that's what you think of yourself as I do, then with diff-locks and so on, you got far greater control and a far greater input from your skill levels. Whereas with traction control aids, they're so smart and sophisticated, the machine or the computers on board, and it pretty much does bulk of the job. But coming back to the whole purpose of this video, if you do have a modern day four-wheel drive with all these traction control aids, then in my opinion, I really don't think you need diff-locks. Now, I've had these conversations before as well, where I come across friends and sometimes others who have bought a relatively new four-wheel drive with all these kinds of fancy computer-aided systems, and they'll say, oh, but I was told I still need to get diff-locks. And what my advice would be, first of all, as I said at the start, in my opinion, you don't need diff-locks if you have a really good system already that came from the factory. But don't just go and do it because somebody did say so. Sometimes it could be at a four-wheel drive accessory shop and maybe they just want to get the sale done. Put the system to test. Go out to a four-wheel drive track or a place there's a bit of testing tracks with all kinds of tricky and surfaces. Put it to test and see for yourself how well or not the electronic system works, and then decide whether you still want to go ahead and spend the money and put in the diff-locks. So that's what I wanted to talk about in this particular video, because it was kind of like a follow-up, and this is my opinion. If you has far greater knowledge than I am, and you feel you disagree with me or you want to add to what I have to say, please leave in the comment section below. I'd love to learn for myself as well. So hope you found this video useful. If you liked it, please do give it a thumbs up. Hope you love Adelaide Hills. If you haven't subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscription button and the notification bell. And I'll see you again in another video real soon. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care.